So before I start, I want to let you guys know that even though yes, I'll be talking about something that involves My Little Pony, today's video is intended for a more mature audience, so viewer discretion is advised. And also, please don't send any hate or anything like that to anyone that is mentioned in today's video. That's the last thing I would want. Now that we have that out of the way, let's continue. My Little Pony, either love it or you hate it. No in between. Some of you may know the show because of, well, the show itself, or because of the deepest, darkest corners of the internet. I found out about this show when I was 8 or 9. I randomly came across it on Netflix and I was just like, not, and I never looked back. I loved watching the show, teaching little brain rot at me about why friendship is the most magical thing in the world. Since I liked My Little Pony and I was an iPad kid with unrestricted internet access, I would try to find any content that was related to it. I watched comic dubs, animation, music videos, theories, you name it. I even did a comic dub when I was younger for fun. It's a good thing I lost that video though. Yep, totally lost it. Forever and ever. Wait, what's that? Most of these videos that I used to watch, most of the animations were amazing. The key word in this is most. I say this since I would come across content that was just, let's just say, not so child friendly. It astonishes me how much of this content there was for a kids show and how easy it was to access it. It's honestly disturbing. But I won't be talking about that in today's video. However, I will be putting 2 videos by Raimundo2112 in the description below in case you want to check them out at the end, since he did inspire me to make this video. They're well made and he goes more in depth about how bronies traumatized a generation. But now you're probably wondering why I'm even talking about My Little Pony in the first place then. Well, while watching his videos, it reminded me of a content that I used to consume a lot as a kid, and I haven't really seen other people talk about it, which is Lovestruck Derpy Hooves and The Doctor is Out. Lovestruck Derpy Hooves and The Doctor is Out are both Tumblr blogs made by Jive, also known as the Dumbo Rat. They're one of those ask this character anything, which is self-explanatory. You ask or comment on something for the character and said character will answer the questions or comments. Most of the time the character will be from a specific media or they will be the OCs of the creator. And most of the time the person making these blogs will either draw it out themselves or even have people draw it out for them. As for these, Jive would draw them out or at times would have guest artists draw some of these panels for them. And I found it a little funny how I know about these 2 blogs since I didn't have Tumblr at the time when I first saw this, and this was mainly because at the time I was a little kid, so I didn't know what Tumblr was until I reached high school, since I would watch videos talking about it. And the only reason why I know about these blogs is because the creator decided to voice up some of the panels and upload it on YouTube. But anyways, now that I have a brief idea of what these blogs were, why don't we go more in depth? Lovestruck Derpy Hooves was made in 2012 and it takes place before the events of The Doctor is Out. It follows Derpy's adventures with Dr. Hooves, who, if you couldn't tell by the name, is a reference to a British show called Doctor Who. Derpy's in love with the Doctor, which is pretty wholesome most of the time. At other times, they have their quote-unquote mature moments. An example of one of these moments was when it came to, I kid you not, Derpy having wing bone. You heard me right. Derpy has wing bone. The Doctor even has him occasionally when he randomly gets wings due to his body trying to get accustomed to the ponyverse since he's not from there. When I was younger, I didn't understand what any of this meant until now. There was even a time when Derpy was having an intimate dream about the Doctor when she got asked if she ever had one of those quote-unquote wild dreams before. I'm just gonna say this right now that the commenters make a lot, and I mean a lot, of weird comments in this series as well as the Doctor is Out series. But anyways, then there was another time when Derpy was putting on socks to be all quote-unquote cute, but ended up being in a pose that just seemed off, since she just so happened to fall, with the Doctor walking in and then walking out because of what he just saw, which was her legs up and spread open. And now you're probably wondering, Cake, why are you talking about the socks? Well, you see, my dear viewers, back in the day, and probably still now, people tended to draw the My Little Pony characters in seductive poses while wearing socks. Why was this a thing? I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure some sick freaks were into that sort of thing for some reason, which is why this type of content existed. It still surprises me to this day that this type of content existed, and still probably does, since I remember vividly coming across those drawings when I was a kid, whenever I was innocently looking up a character. But going back to the topic, as you can tell, this was intended for a more older audience. And looking back, it's weird how easy it was to even find this comic, but since it was My Little Pony and I didn't understand the jokes, I didn't overthink it. Other than those moments, I will say that the Lovestruck Derpy Hooves series did have its wholesome moments, like I said earlier, with Derpy being all lovey-dovey with the Doctor. The Doctor is the same but more secretive about it. The Doctor is protective of Derpy, having them go on adventures together, etc. For those reasons, I liked the series as a kid. I used to eat that shit up as if it was gourmet bold. This was also the reason why I used to ship Derpy with the Doctor so much. They just seemed so cute as a couple and I wanted to see more of them. And to my surprise at the time, there was even lore in the series. It wasn't just some slice of life. For example, we see that Derpy has an adopted family since her real parents abandoned her, with her having an older brother named Warren who legit picked her since he felt like she would be the best choice for a sister. Other than that, throughout the series, we also see that the Doctor becomes more tired and stressed out. We even see Derpy start to get worried for him, and things just get worse once the series starts to reach its end. We see that a voice starts to taunt the Doctor, telling him that he won't be able to save Derpy, not to mention that at one point, he runs into a pony that looks exactly like him, and tells them to take care of her. This will be important for later. This causes the Doctor to become more paranoid, tired, and stressed out. And what doesn't help is that at one point, Queen Chrysalis kidnaps him and Derpy and proceeds to steal all the love from the Doctor. This causes Queen Chrysalis to become good, but makes him mentally unwell and agitated. Queen Chrysalis even tells Derpy that she needs to be patient with him and give him space. Towards the end of the series, Derpy and the Doctor end up at a cave to see what's going on with time, since the Doctor senses that something is wrong, and the Doctor tells Derpy to stay close to him since they could easily get lost. They lose each other immediately after. As Derpy tries to look around for the Doctor, she finds a light in the distance. Thinking it's the exit, she decides to go towards it. But when she gets there, she realizes that she's still in the cave and there's a big tree in the middle. She's a bit confused by this, but her thoughts get interrupted immediately by Discord. Discord then reveals to her that he's trying to rewrite history. Derpy tells him that the Doctor is going to stop him. Discord responds to her by saying that won't be happening since he's a coward and just runs away from things he feels like he can't do. That all the Doctor does is lie. When Derpy tries to defend the Doctor, Discord asks her, then why hasn't he told you he's married? He then reveals to her how the Doctor even has kids that he left behind, stating to her, and he leaves them all behind, every last one of them. You think you'd be different? Insinuating that the Doctor will eventually leave her, since he's done it in the past with others. Derpy denies this, saying that she doesn't believe it and that the Doctor will stop him. Discord then tells her to see for herself, and that he bets he'll show his cowardness soon, and once he does, she has to admit that he's a coward. She runs away and ends up running to the Doctor. The Doctor looks frantic, almost as if he saw something horrible, telling Derpy to get into the TARDIS. Derpy asks him if they're going to stop Discord. The Doctor tells her that they can't, that they have to leave now, that they have to go to a new universe and never come back to the one they're in now. Derpy exclaims to him that they can't leave everyone, telling him that he's not making any sense. The Doctor snaps and slaps her across the face, telling her that she needs to get into the TARDIS immediately. After that, Derpy tells the commentators that she's going to be leaving the Doctor in the TARDIS for a while, saying that the Doctor isn't himself and isn't feeling well, so she's going to be giving him some space like Chrysalis said until then, saying that she hopes he'll get back on his feet again and stop Discord. But before leaving, she asks the commentators to take care of him and to help him. Although he won't know that she's setting this up, she wants to make sure that he's not completely alone, and the last thing she says is please, save him, ending the Lovestruck Derpy Hooves series. It was an ending I wasn't expecting to see when I decided to reread this series, and I was in shock to see this, mostly since I wasn't expecting this somewhat wholesome series to take a dark path. With the series now ending, this introduces a new story, which is the Doctor's out. I want to warn you guys right now before we continue that I will be talking about these sort of topics that are displayed on screen right now in this section of the video. So if you aren't in the right headspace to stomach these topics, you're more than welcome to watch any of my more lighthearted content or click off the video. Now that we got that out of the way, let's continue. The Doctor's out follows the Doctor, now known as Discord Hooves. He walks around severely depressed and is just done with everything in his life. The Doctor we once saw in the Lovestruck Derpy Hooves blog was no more. He's colder towards people, he has a drinking problem, abuses Derpy whenever he can, which I'll go into more detail in a bit, and even starts to have more sexual desires with other characters. For example, he has intercourse with some of the main characters like Fluttershy from a different universe and Twilight Sparkle from the universe that Derpy we know is from. He even does it with... yeah, let's just move on. Oh, and it just gets worse from here, because at one point, Discord Hooves gets asked by someone if he already had plans on who he was gonna sleep with next. And I kid you not, this man proceeds to talk about the Cutie Mark Crusaders. He mentions how they owe him a quote-unquote favor since he helped them get their cutie mark, which is just so disgusting. The creator did respond to this by saying that Discord Hooves has a time machine, so he just goes to the time when they're adult, and that Discord Hooves isn't a child diddler. Like, I'm sorry, but what the fuck?
That little girl is a child. I don't want to see you sniffing around her anymore this afternoon. Do you understand?
Yes,
Boy, have you lost your mind, because I'll help you find it.
And since we're on the topic, let me now tell you something I left out from the Lovestruck Derpy Hooves section. We got introduced to a character that's like another version of the doctor named Neo, who's like a computer program, I guess you can say. Neo was working on a machine that clones people, ponies, whatever, you get the point. Derpy ends up turning on the machine by accident and it gets her. The doctor tries to help her but ends up getting taken to the mix. This results to them not having kids. One of them is named Sparkler, who gets referred to as Amy by the doctor, and the other one is named Dinky. So now, here's the thing. I don't know how old Sparkler is, but she acts like a child. And as for Dinky, she is a child. So with that being said, someone answer me this. Why the fuck does someone think it would be alright to ask Discord Hooves if he would sleep with Sparkler and an older version of Dinky? That's such a weird thing to ask. And Discord Hooves responds to this question by saying that he wouldn't, since they're as bad as their mother, aka Derpy. Not even the fact that 1, they're technically his kids, and 2, one of them is a literal child. Like, my god. I feel like the comment shouldn't have gotten a response at all. It's so unnecessary. Like, for what purpose was this comment needed? For what purpose was it for the comment to be responded to? It could have been completely ignored altogether. And let me tell you something, when someone makes an older version of a character that we know as a minor and proceeds to sexualize them, that's just weird. It's like they're trying to say, no guys, it's okay, the characters are adults, so it's fine, it's not bad, guys. When in reality, it's still bad, it's still wrong. Why are you trying to make an excuse? I don't understand why people age up and sexualize the characters that are minors, then use that as an excuse. I just find it so weird. But before I move on, I also want to add that there's like a mini side plot where Scootaloo has a child. And how old is Scootaloo? She's 14. She's 14 years old. The side plot's from another Tumblr blog called Motherly Scootaloo. I'm sorry, but why the fuck is Scootaloo a mom at the age of 14? I find it odd that they made Scootaloo a teen mom. Like, why? For what purpose? Mostly since story-wise in this specific blog, her and her baby are not even mentioned that much as the story progresses. But other than that, the series also makes a lot of other references that you may have heard of, like Little Miss Rarity, Cupcakes, other Tumblr blogs, and Princess. Yeah, I'm not kidding. This is an actual thing I didn't even know about until I watched Raimundo's video. It caught me so off guard since this was the first time I ever heard of this, and it surprises me that someone sat down and thought, yeah, this is a pretty good idea. Because again, all of this is from a kid's show. Why does it even exist in the first place? But anyway, the reason why I mentioned the references is because some of them are important to the plot. As I mentioned earlier, Discord Hooves sleeps with Twilight, which makes Discord Hooves interact with Twilight more, growing a fondness for her and even giving her a pet name like Marshmallow. As the story progresses, someone mentions an incident that happened at Chillpeach Corner. When Twilight gets asked about it, she tells us the tragic story of what happened. She says that ponies started to go missing and wouldn't see Pinkie as much as they did before. Then Rainbow Dash went missing and they tried looking for her. They ended up finding her since Twilight tried to gather all of her friends at Chillpeach Corner since their wings suddenly disappeared. But once they got there, they were introduced to a horrible sight. The aftermath of Rainbow Dash's death at the hands of Pinkie. This right here was a Cupcakes reference, which a lot of people famously know from the animation by Mr. Davy, and involved cutesy music to then showing Pinkie murdering Rainbow Dash and turning her into a cupcake. But going back, after this, Pinkie was executed, and Twilight mentions how she was just laughing throughout the whole time. And later on in the series, we find out that the Pinkie who killed Rainbow Dash was actually a Pinkie clone. For context, in the My Little Pony show, there's a canon episode where Pinkie made a bunch of clones of herself, but in this case, the clone cheated, causing Twilight to send the real Pinkie back, and they eventually tried to get her back, but she dissolved and sadly didn't make it. But back to the incident, things just started to get worse from there. Fluttershy was heartbroken by the death of Rainbow Dash since they were very close with each other, and sooner or later disappeared. We find out later on from Angel, her pet bunny, that Fluttershy sadly took her own life. As for Rarity, she ended up succumbing to a coma. For context, they reference Little Miss Rarity, which was a Tumblr blog that sooner or later got an animation. Based on the animation and some videos I found on the topic, it involved Rarity killing her cat by slamming it on the wall after she got scratched. She then realizes that she likes the feeling of pain. She then uses a doll to put her cat's heart in it. Later on, she almost kills her sister, I think, and gets caught and taken away. Then we find out that the doll is alive and was inside of her for some reason. That's honestly all I got from it. There's a video I found of someone reading the blog and explaining it better than I am. The video is by Rainbot, and I'll be putting it in the description below in case you guys want to check it out after this video. Now that you have a gist of Little Miss Rarity, let's continue. After those events occurred, Rarity ended up succumbing to a coma and hasn't woken up since. When Twilight tries to remember the events that happened to Rarity, she tries to deny it, saying that the events never happened. Lastly, when it comes to what happened to Applejack, after losing almost all of her friends, things just get worse for her. She loses Granny Smith, and Big Mac moves away to get some income since Sweet Apple Acre isn't doing well. Because, I mean, who would want to buy from a town where there was a serial killer on the loose? Sending Applejack into a state of depression, turning to alcohol to cope with it. And she even got so stressed with having to raise Apple Bloom all by herself that she started to abuse her, with Twilight mentioning how she would see Apple Bloom with bruises most of the time. All of this shows is that the main 6 are no more, and how many of them either got into a bad mental state or died. When it comes to how this affected Twilight, well, she started taking her own life away. She was able to survive since Discord Who's found her and took her to the hospital. She also gave up her role as a princess, with her saying how could she be the princess of friendship if she couldn't even keep her own friends safe. Even so, she still stays in Ponyville. When asked why she does this, she says that she can't abandon her friends. She can't leave Rarity in case she wakes up. She can't leave Applejack in case Applejack wants to talk to her again. She can't leave Fluttershy in case she comes back, since she's still considered missing when Twilight is asked this question. She still has a bit of hope for them, and that things will be different for all of them. It's honestly devastating to see what happened to the main 6 after Discord altered their timeline by having some dimensions collide with the quote-unquote canon one, causing a big mess. This is something Derpy has been trying to tell the Doctor throughout this blog. I'm going to jump back a bit when Derpy left the Doctor, since we finally get the aftermath of what happened between them. After getting the TARDIS, the Doctor asks her where they should go and says that they can go anywhere. Derpy tells him that she wants to go home. The Doctor is confused, and when he tries to ask her why, she calls him a coward and a liar, that all he does is pretend. He takes her back home, and she tries to hug him goodbye, causing the Doctor to be irritated by this. With this, they go their separate ways. On the Doctor's side, he was mad and hurt by everything she said to him, mostly because he needed someone there for him, since he was going through a hard time. Derpy gets asked why she left him, and that she should have stayed with him, since he was going through something. And Derpy tells us how she wasn't trying to run away from the problem. She just didn't know what to do at that moment, since he was acting weird and literally slapped her for no reason. So obviously, she was terrified and hurt by this. But as she kept explaining herself, she said something that stood out to me. She says, "It just slipped out, and I was upset. I didn't know why I said that. I'm usually never mean, but I don't know, it's like something else got in my head." Do y'all remember when I said Discord bets that the Doctor will show his true colors and that she'll see how much of a coward he is? Yeah, so this may be a little hunch, but I'm pretty sure Discord has something to do with this, which would explain why she said all of those hurtful things to him. I also find it interesting how the readers were telling her that she should have stayed with him since he wasn't in a good place, which I find that a bit ridiculous since this man literally slapped her when she wouldn't get in the TARDIS. Obviously, she's not gonna want to go near him since he hurt her. She's scared now more than ever since he has done nothing but abuse her physically and verbally, causing her to have depression and anxiety. He beats her up whenever he sees her, and at some point, he injures her so badly that she has to go to the hospital. He calls her weak, pathetic, useless, an idiot, etc. He even went as far to even go to the hospital to sleep with some nurses while Derpy was still recovering from the last time he beat her up, knowing that she was gonna be there, and just laughed at her once she saw them and ran away crying. Despite all of this, she says she wants to help him because she somewhat cares for him and wants to bring back his old self, the man she once knew. But is it too late to even do that? To bring the Doctor back to normal? The Doctor becomes a shell of his former self, as I've mentioned earlier. He's cold towards everyone, he's aggressive, he sleeps with everyone, and he drinks in order to distract himself. He has abandonment issues since Derpy left him when he was going through a rough time. This event affected him so badly that when he finds an old friend of his named Jack, who is in the Doctor Who series in a spin-off called Torchwood, he decides to keep him confined in the TARDIS. He never lets him leave, and if he tries to wander off, he either breaks down crying because he can't find him, or he starts to snap at him for wandering wandering off, mostly if he's wandering off with someone else who isn't him. The way he acts even affects Jack, having him almost get discorded. We see this happen after Jack offers to help him like the doctor has done for the past for him, and when they are in Nimbus trying to relax, only to get attacked by Daleks, and to save himself, Discord Hooves pushes Jack away, causing Jack to get hit by one, letting Discord control him, telling him how the doctor is doing the same thing he did in the past, which was by leaving him to fend off everything by himself. The only reason why Jack goes back to normal and leaves him is because Discord Hooves shoots him so he can restart his life, since that's the thing he can do apparently, and throws him out the TARDIS. Later on, this causes Jack to start off Torchwood with Twilight, Torrin, Warner, Neo, and Derpy, but this leaves the Doctor to be alone in his TARDIS once again. No matter how much he wants to have someone with him, he always manages to push them away. He fears being alone, and yet also fears being close to anyone since he doesn't want to get hurt again. This is how Discord Hooves is portrayed throughout the series. Someone who can commit out of fear of being hurt, someone who is distant and cold with everyone, someone who runs away from the problem instead of facing it head on like before. What did he see back in the cave that changed him to this? Toward the end of the series, the main characters face Discord Hooves to defeat him. Discord tells them the Doctor won't help them, and Derpy says that he will be able to defeat him, that he will help them, and Discord tells him how he may have helped them before, but now that he knows the quote-unquote truth, he won't do such a thing. The truth being that the Doctor isn't the real Dr. Hooves. Back in the cave, what the Doctor saw was his TARDIS. When he looked inside, he saw himself turn into a pony. Discord appears and proceeds to tell the Doctor how the only reason why he's in their universe is because of him. He made a copy of the real Doctor in the TARDIS in order to make Dr. Hooves. That Dr. Hooves was made out of pure chaos magic, and that without the Doctor knowing, he had him act like a virus, spreading chaos magic wherever he went, causing cracks to open the universe to allow Discord to go through. That Discord Hooves was truly never the Doctor. He was never anything. He wasn't the original Doctor. He was nothing. This was the reason why the Doctor became Discord Hooves. When he found out that he was nothing but a clone of the actual Doctor, he concluded that he was a fake. If he wasn't even the real Doctor, then who was he? Just someone playing pretend? Was he an actual hero? Or someone pretending to be a hero? Was he actually helping people because he wanted to? Or because he thought he had to because he was the Doctor? His reality shattered after this. And well, I think you know the rest. So now the greater question is, how will this end? Despite hearing this, everyone didn't care if he was a clone. They mentioned how it doesn't change how they think of him. What matters is the good he's done in the past for everyone. That just because he has false memories, it doesn't make him any less. Twilight uses a memory spell, which uses other ponies' memories of him to make him remember who he was before. This breaks the curse, and has him become undiscorded. After this, the gang uses the elements of harmony to try to defeat Discord. So quick little moment really quickly, because you're probably confused on why they use the elements of harmony, because you know, it's not the main six. So what they ended up doing is that they ended up just giving new users to the elements type of thing, you know what I mean? So like, for example, I believe Derpy was like kindness, Jack was like loyalty or whatever, and you know, all that. So that's basically what they ended up doing, and that's how they were able to use the elements of harmony. Just wanted to add that in, just wanted to clear that up. So like, anyways, continue on. But Discord escapes through a portal. The Doctor and Torrin go through the portal to defeat Discord once and for all. Torrin sacrifices himself by absorbing the chaos magic from Discord. Now you're probably wondering why Torrin does this, since he just seems like a normal bat pony. Well, I left out a little detail. The reason why he does this is because Torrin was actually another character, which was the Master. We see him a few times in the Discord Hooves series as an enemy of his and also as a friend, and he also has his own Tumblr blog. The reason why he looks different here is because he died by Chrysalis because of something he did to her, and since he's a Time Lord as well, he was reborn as a new pony, which is Torrin. The only reason why I know this is because although it doesn't show the transformation in the Discord Hooves blog, I did skim through the Master blog in order to get this information, and Torrin himself does mention it to the other characters who he really is, since he wants to right his wrongs. Of course, not everyone is happy about this, since the Master wasn't the nicest person to be around. But going back, after Torrin absorbs the chaos magic, he asks the Doctor to shoot him so they can defeat Discord once and for all. The Doctor does as he wishes, killing Torrin in Discord. After killing him, he goes back with the the others and tells them the news of what happened to Tauren and Discord. He then mentions how they can fix the universe they're in the universes that branch from it. He also mentions how Discord's influence has already affected many universes he has accessed, but that there was a way to keep him in check, which was the elements of harmony. Twilight tells him how she can do something about that, but the doctor says that she can't do it alone, and that it's time to fix her timeline. And once they fix the timeline, that means Twilight will remember the reality that they're in right now. She won't remember the pain her friends went through. She won't remember her losing her friends, and she won't remember the doctor. Everyone says their goodbye to Twilight and fixes her timeline by going back to the Pinky clone incident. The doctor suggests a quiz where all the Pinkies guess the names of all the ponies in Ponyville, since the real Pinky is most likely to remember them. Twilight decides to take the suggestion, thanks him, and leaves him. The doctor sees her run away and says to live her best life. After the timeline gets fixed, Derpy gets a pair from the changelings, which will restore the love that the doctor once had. The doctor doesn't feel quite ready and decides to take some time for himself to process everything that happened and to make sure everything is truly fixed. He first goes with Princess Luna and Princess Celestia, since apparently they were adopted by the master when they were fillies. And to briefly give you a summary on that, they were in the woods, the master found them, and just took them in. That's pretty much it. He then suggested to them to have one of the elements of harmony to reform Discord, in order to keep him in check to fix any remaining fragments that were left by Discord in other universes where he should be harmless. He checks on Twilight and sees that she's alright and that she's thriving with her friends. And although it hurts him to see her without him and wants to talk to her, he knows it's better to him to do that since it would be interfering with the timeline and interfering with what's ahead of her. After that, he goes back in time to when Derpy was a filly and blows some bubbles for her to make her feel better, causing her to get her cutie mark. And hey, crazy thing, but y'all remember when I mentioned that in Lovestruck Derpy Hooves section, the doctor sees a pony that looks exactly like him? Well, that said pony was actually the doctor from the future! What? Who could have guessed? The future Doctor Who mentions that as much as he was tormenting himself when this happened in the past, he needed to hear this, which was, take care of her, please. Saying how this was his way to promise himself to cherish and protect her from now on. After this interaction, the last stop he takes is when Warner was a baby. He says how he always wondered why he was so protective of Derpy, and that now he knows. He uses his Time Lord magic to make sure Warner is wary of him in the future. That although Warner won't be able to put his finger on it, seeing the doctor's face will give him a gut feeling that he's a possible danger to Derpy, and that he must protect her as best as he can from him. After this, he goes back to the present time with everyone else and eats the pear to regain back his love. After doing so, he makes an apology video. He makes an apology letter to everyone he has hurt while being discorded. He apologizes to Neo for using him to kill someone and that it wasn't his fault. That he also should have respected him as a living being. That he should be allowed to explore the beauty of the world and learn more about life, and that he thanks him for helping him. He apologizes to Jack for what his doctor did to him and for doing the same thing that the original doctor did to him, which was abandoning him. He tells him how he appreciates everything he's done for him and will make up for everything he's done to Jack. That whenever he's ready to go home, to go to him, and he'll help him, and if he needs someone, he'll be there. He then apologizes to Sparkler and Dinky for making them experience so much pain in such little time that they've been brought to the world. The girls mean everything to him, and if they allow him, he would love to be part of their life and heal the wounds he inflicted on them. That he just wants to make them happy. Lastly, he apologizes to Derpy for doubting her and letting that doubt fester into something monstrous, causing him to lash out on her and hurt her horribly. She didn't deserve to be treated like that and deserves so much more, and that he hopes they can fix what was broken, and that she'll let him back into her life, to never let him hurt her again. That he would much rather die than do such a thing. After they read their letters, everyone except for Dinky goes to hug the doctor and tell him how they can all work it out together. And the reason why Dinky doesn't do this is because she can't easily forget the damage he's done, mostly since he wasn't just mean to her by calling her names, but also hurt her own mother. So it's hard to forgive someone while also remembering everything he's done. Jack decides to leave them to go to the Punverse, since he wants to go back to a pony he met there. And as for the Doctor and Derpy, yeah, this deserves its own section. The whole Derpy and Doctor situation is very, what's the word? Complicated. I heard that some people had some concern about them ending up together at the end, which, spoiler alert, they did. Their ending was that they talked about their feelings and how they did have feelings for each other. But ever since the Discord Hooves incident happened, they're both scared to start anything. They want to love each other, but the doctor is scared of hurting her again, and Derpy is scared of being hurt by him. So they both decide to take things slow and remain friends. And over time, if they did feel comfortable and still have those feelings for one another, they can be together. As time passed, they took it slow and tried to move forward with their lives. They eventually got together and even got married. The doctor would take breaks to focus on himself and his emotions, and to also be able to age with Derpy. Eventually, Derpy passed away, and the last thing she told him was, "I know there's not much time left for me, but I need you to make me a promise." When the doctor says anything, she says, "I have no regrets, and I want you to do the same. Please, don't have any more regrets. You did the best you could, and I had a wonderful life. So no more regrets." The doctor agrees, and Derpy passes away. The doctor says his goodbyes to his family, since he doesn't know if he'll end up dying or end up regenerating. The blog ends with a little filly named Tootsie Flute narrating about how she's Sparkler's daughter and how Sparkler would tell her stories about the adventures she would go on with her grandpa. She then mentions how her grandpa would tell her that he doesn't know what will happen to him, but if he came back, then he would have a new face. Then he will give her a special name so she could know it's him. He soon passes away, with his grave alongside Derpy's. He ends up regenerating as a grandpa from another comic series that the creator made, and sees his grandkid again by climbing through her window. What the fuck? What the fuck? Now that you know the ending, let me tell you the concerns people had. People were mentioning how they were concerned about Derpy and the doctor being together due to how he treated her, since he did verbally and physically abuse her, sending her to the hospital at one point, as I mentioned previously. Chillpeach didn't make a response to this once the Discord Whooves series was reaching its end. I'll be summarizing these paragraphs since they are pretty long, but I'll be putting the screenshots on screen in case you want to read them yourself. In the first paragraph, he says how he understood the concerns people had about them ending up together, saying how this wasn't meant to be one of those stories where the abuser changes for the better in the end if you give them the right amount of support. But that the story gets a pass since the circumstances in the series would never happen in real life, since it involves magic mind control, and how the doctor isn't really like that because he was being mind controlled by magic, and since the curse is now gone, he's going to be just fine. He's not going to have another relapse. Then in the next paragraph, he says how real abusers aren't being mind controlled. Even if they're drunk, it doesn't count because, and I quote, "When someone is an abusive drunk, they're still choosing to get drunk when they are well aware of what they do when under the influence," saying that if the doctor were to do any of the abuse on his own terms, then he wouldn't have let them be together in the end, and that comparing a fantasy scenario to real life is already reaching a line, as well as saying how the relationship still has issues, saying both of them suffered damage and trauma, and both of them needed to navigate around it to be able to trust one another again. This then leads me to mention how the way he described the relationship by saying it'd be more like a loved one suffering a psychotic episode and doing horrible things they never do in their right mind, saying how people will understand this and forgive the person while others may not, and that should be valid. How it's hard to make amends and trust yourself because of what you did in an episode. Even saying how some good people who have psychotic episodes will even go as far as murder. Then Chillpeach proceeds to compare a real life tragedy that happened where a woman experienced a psychotic episode and murdered her children, with the husband forgiving her, and says, "Listen, if a husband can be capable of not blaming his wife for killing his kids in a psychotic state, it's perfectly reasonable that someone can forgive someone who was under a magical mind control," which is just so insensitive to say. The comparison he made didn't affect some fictional people, it affected real life people. This was an actual tragedy that happened. As to why it's okay that a My Little Pony character forgave another My Little Pony character for being under a curse is honestly disgusting behavior that the person would even do such a thing. Lastly, in the third paragraph, he mentions how if you're in a physical abusive relationship, then to get out of it, that the chances of this person changing are extremely low, and you shouldn't cling to the idea that the person will change. That shouldn't be happening nor even be tolerated, and says do not use this story as a basis for how to manage your own relationships, no matter how much you think you see yourselves in it. This is fiction, and the scenarios in the story do not happen in real life. If you can't discern reality from fiction, this is all on you, not me. So, There's a lot to say. I do understand that the doctor was mind controlled by Discord, which is why he acted the way he did. However, it doesn't change the fact that the way he acted towards Derpy was absolutely uncalled for. Jitterbug Jive wrote the doctor in a way where his actions were absolutely disgusting and practically normalizing his behavior. The doctor didn't just call her a few names, which can still affect the person greatly, and that's it. He physically abused her. He kept tormenting her, even when she was already hurt. He even went as far as to go to the hospital that she was in, like I mentioned earlier. He purposely went over there to sleep with the nurses, knowing she was there, and laughed at her when she ran away in tears after seeing this. She had literal nightmares of him choking her to death, and I understand he was possessed and that he may have apologized for everything he did once he got back to normal. But that still doesn't erase the traumatic experience that he inflicted on her. It feels like the creator is trying to justify his behavior. Just because someone may have had a bad mental state and have said or done things that they didn't mean to say, it still doesn't excuse their behavior. It doesn't excuse the fact that he has hurt people. And something I've noticed is that whenever Jitterbug wants to show the doctor's quote-unquote sympathetic side, he does it in a way where the viewer can't feel bad for him. Example 1 being that when Discord Hooves was with Derpy, he was beating her up and started verbally abusing her and even told her that she shouldn't be alive anymore. But it's okay because he stops and then tells her while crying, "Next time you see me, just run, you idiot." Example 2 was when Twilight was in the hospital after she attempted, and she tells him how she was sorry and how she promised the master. While she's literally crying, the doctor raises his hoof to basically hit her while she's apologizing in tears, saying she doesn't deserve him. But oh, it's okay because he lowered his hoof and said it was alright because it wasn't her fault. Lastly, example 3 was when the doctor goes to visit Sparkler to see how she's doing. Later on, Derpy appears and he notices the key to the TARDIS that he gave to her a long time ago. He starts yelling at her, saying that she doesn't deserve to have that key. And right when he's about to hit her, Dinky comes in and starts to beat the shit out of him, saying how dare he hurt her mother again. Before Dinky can hurt him any further, he has the audacity to beg for mercy. And Dinky tells him that's probably what her mother said to him too.
She's got a point. She's an icon. She's a legend. And she is the moment. Now, come on now.
And the only reason why she doesn't even go any further is because Derpy and Sparkler stop her from doing anything else. But guys, feel bad for him because right before the doctor leaves, he says while crying, "Stay away from me," and "You're all in danger," as if the dude didn't go over there himself. But anyway, with these examples, it's hard to sympathize with him when Discord Hooves never really does anything to make the viewer feel otherwise. He's a horrible person and it's hard to look past it once he's back to normal. I can't just look at him being with Derpy and think, "Ah, so cute." Instead, I'm like, "Oh, okay, they're together. Hooray." That's cool too, I guess. I feel like if he was written in a way where his actions weren't out of impulse and wasn't borderline traumatizing Derpy, it probably would have been more tolerable. Probably. And before I move to the conclusion, there is something I want to talk about that I recently found out, which is the allegations involving the creator. So the only thing I knew about the creator was that there was a petition to remove him from a panel in BronyCon, which is a My Little Pony convention in case you didn't know, due to the fact that Jitterbug Jive makes content that isn't safe for work, obviously, and that kids tended to go to this convention. So the person who made the petition said that he should be removed for the safety of the kids. I did hear that he ended up getting removed. I'll put a video in the description made by KittyGoose69 that talks about it in case you want to watch it after this video, and this was like one of the only videos I found about Discord Hooves, so go check it out, it's pretty good. That was the only thing I knew and I just moved on trying to finish the script. And something that I've mentioned in a previous video is that I tend to look up photos that I'm going to use for the video while writing the script. I mainly do it because either I forget to get certain pictures, I decide last minute to get it even if I have all the other pictures ready, etc. So while writing the script, I remembered that I needed a photo from his Tumblr page for a point I wanted to make in the conclusion. So I was on his page and scrolling down, trying to find the photo, and I had to stop because I saw a post that caught my eye. I'll have a screenshot of the post on screen in case you guys want to pause and read, but just to summarize it, he talks about how there was someone from his ex-friends group who gave out the ending to Discord Hooves. He was saying how he was annoyed because the person person decided to give out the information about something he trusted them with. He says how he thinks it's immature, sad, and pathetic to try to give out spoilers to the series, and that it was pity revenge. That even if he hated someone, he would never do such a thing. After I read that part, I was like, alrighty then. But then I kept reading and something else also caught my attention. He says, I'm sorry the whole world isn't against me like you want it to be. And the fact that I feel terrible enough about my shitty actions in the past and I'm doing everything in my power to avoid anything like that happening ever again. I'm sorry I'm not being bombarded by hordes of angry people calling me names and telling me to unalive myself. I'm sorry my feeling horrible isn't enough to saturate you and all you is to see me suffer. After that, he says it's been years now since whatever happened between them happened. To let it go for their own mental well-being, to cut them off, and to not obsess over him, saying that he's always panicking thinking of what happened and how it's going to bite him in the ass later. Then proceeds to say how he lost the comic website he depended on, losing his readership and how he isn't as popular as he used to be, saying how he doesn't get fan art, he doesn't get asks, he doesn't get fan mail, original work isn't doing well, and isn't selling commissions that frequently, saying how he has insomnia and couldn't go a day without feeling guilt, regret, self-hatred, and doubt, and wishes he never did whatever he did. He has trust issues now and can't get comfortable with people to be able to share his stories, saying that he hasn't been able to form a bond with anyone for years now. Then something else he said that also caught my attention after he said all that was, I know I hurt you badly, I know what I did was incredibly wrong and irresponsible, and I don't know how it's affected you over the years, but this rage and anger is not good for anyone. I don't hate you. I just want you to be able to move on and learn to be healthy and happy and no longer stuck thinking about me and how much you hate me and want me to fall. I don't want to be hurting you by just existing and trying to move on with my own life, and I wish there was something, anything I could do to bring you peace, but the only one who can ultimately bring you peace is yourself. So you can keep on trying to claw and bite and drag me down with you, or you could be a better person and just try to move forward and put the past in the past where it belongs. After reading this, it made me curious about what the creator did to this person for him to say that the person hates him, and my curiosity piqued even more because of the way this post was written. He says how he understands why the person he's talking about would hate him, and he understands what he did in the past wasn't good, saying how he would go back and change what he did since he regrets it. However, in the same post, he also says, oh, but this also affected me because I'm not as popular as I was before, and I can't sleep, and I haven't been able to form a proper bond with someone anymore. He's saying that he understands what he did was wrong, but that the person wasn't the only one who was affected by this. So this made me do some digging, trying to see if maybe I could get the gist as to what he's talking about, and that's when I found a Twitter thread about stuff the creator has done in the past. This thread was made back on June 30th, 2019, and it says Jerbookjive/Bald Dumble Rat is a Tumblr artist that has taken advantage of and abused minors, and has a record of child diddler apologism, proof, and a thread on why he's dangerous. I'm going to summarize each tweet and only show a few screenshots, but I will be linking the thread in the description below in case you want to see the thread yourself. The second tweet mentioned how he collaborated with a minor to produce a very inappropriate ass blog. When the ass blog was first made, the minor was 13 years old and Jerbookjive knew this, sending the artist suggestive sketches for them to color for said ass blog. And if you're curious about what ass blog they're talking about, the ass blog that is being mentioned is Bedeviled Derpy. It's an ass blog that was made a long time ago, around when Lovestruck Derpy Hooves was still being made. It's an AU where Derpy gets discorded and becomes a very lustful person, mainly lusting over the doctor, and at some point even making him get tied up. There's no screenshots for this because this blog got deleted a long time ago, but someone did re-upload a voice dub that the creator did make a long time ago that was also deleted. But this blog still kind of exists because there is an ass blog called Bedeviled Dotty, which is just basically the Derpy and the doctor as bunnies. And instead of Discord mind controlling her, it's basically this fox thing. But anyways, the third tweet mentions how he took advantage of and abused the same minor. Firstly, they made a pony OC named Blank Slate and based it on the minor's experience, and proceeded to have the OC be suggestive with the OC's father and tried to excuse it. And the creator even made the OC be depicted as a sociopath and a murderer, since he would tell the minor that they were also, quote unquote, a sociopath, dangerous, and manipulative. Secondly, which is the fifth tweet, mentions how he would also roleplay very suggestive and abusive scenarios with the minor. And lastly, he and his boyfriend used to make suggestive comments about said minor when the minor was 15 to 16 years old. The sixth tweet mentions his opinions regarding child diddlers, blaming children for their own You can pause to read this, but to summarize, he says how it isn't just black and white, and how minors actively look for adults. The thing with that statement that even if a kid were to do that, the adult shouldn't be engaging with the minor and encouraging that sort of behavior. The kid is still a victim at the end of the day. Other than that, he also says how he feels bad for them, because, and I quote, them crying just shows that they're nothing but giant children who have no idea how to adult. And because a good chunk of the time, that's all a child diddler is. It's not some child predator who likes taking advantage of the weak, naive, and helpless. Which is just so... I can't believe I even read that out loud for the whole class to hear. Because here's the thing, at the end of the day, the adult has lived longer, meaning they have more experience with life and have their brain developed more. Unlike a child, they're not some tall kid, they're an adult who should make more rational decisions than kids. An adult who should know that they shouldn't be talking to kids in that way. It's disgusting. The 7th tweet mentioned how Jitterbug Jive has even excused. To summarize these screenshots, he basically mentioned how predators should have an outlet, since it's harmless and will prevent them from going after a real child. Which, in what world does that make any sense? Letting predators consume that type of content doesn't stop them. It encourages their behavior even further, and at some point, they're going to want something else that isn't just behind a screen. I would also like to add that he even said, and I kid you not, how possessing doesn't automatically make you a child diddler. Which is just so, I don't know what to say other than what the actual fuck? A person shouldn't even own that sort of thing. It's disgusting. And oh, did I forget to mention it's illegal? Like, I don't know, did we all just forget this? Anyways, in the 8th tweet, he mentioned how he also had OCs that were in a... Okay, now what the fuck? Why am I not surprised? There are images that Jitterbug drew for this, but of course, it's stuff I can't show on YouTube because YouTube will crucify me. The 9th tweet mentions how he has an ass blog that is supposed to spread awareness about abusive relationships, but proceeds to have the blog be suggestive and have it be a master/slave porn blog, with the OC obeying everything the asker tells her to do. I can't show screenshots here because again, YouTube. Lastly, the 10th tweet mentioned how in his comic My Magic Grandpa, he intends to make a whole lore important chapter about minors seeking a relationship with adults. And this is basically everything in the blog. Again, I'll be linking it in the description below in case you guys want to see it yourselves. And although I made a lot of warnings, be warned again, the screenshots are very graphic and disgusting. And it's honestly surprising how this came out in 2019 and yet I haven't seen anyone talk about this thread, since these are serious claims. So I would have thought that at least one person would have made a video about it. I did hear that Jitterbug Jive talked about the thread, but I haven't really seen any videos talking about it. If I do find something, I'll probably put a little section here talking about it. So I look pretty stupid now because I found something. I ended up finding a video by For No Good Reason who basically talks about the allegations of the thread and all that, just like I did earlier, as well as I believe how one of his friends asked the minor questions through text, as well as asked Jitterbug Jive questions via email. And the person who made the live stream did want to get in a call with Jitterbug Jive, but that Jitterbug Jive apparently wasn't feeling well and wasn't up to it and was having like a whole moment, so that's why he didn't try to get in a call with him, but that he would do emails. And basically Jitterbug Jive denied the allegations by saying that it was either not true, that it never happened, or that certain posts that he made was because of his manic episode, saying that he had a manic episode so that's why certain things were exaggerated, for example like the whole blank slate situation. And again, the person who made the live stream did try to get in a call with him many times. For example, he even said that they don't even have to do it live streaming, that they can just get in a call and he can ask him questions and they can answer and all that, but I'm assuming they never got their call because one, I didn't see any videos of them getting in a call or anything like that, and two, when I went back to the Jitterbug Jive call out account on Twitter, I ended up finding a post that the person who made the live stream made that the account reposted saying, "You slapped the child's ass, denied it, then had someone speak on your behalf, quote unquote, I'm sorry, okay? You couldn't piss me off more. You cower before me and act like you're having a breakdown. Get in call and I'll show you what a goddamn breakdown feels like." That was basically the post, and below the post that he was trying to reply to says that the post is unavailable. So I am just assuming that the post is by Jitterbug Jive and that the post either got deleted or the account got deleted. I'm not too sure though, so take that with a grain of salt. This is all the information I have at the moment as of editing this part of the video. If you guys have any more information about this, you guys can tell me in the comments below. And also, if you guys want to check out his live stream, I will put it in the description below in case you guys want to check it it out and see it for yourselves. Let's continue on with the video. And also I mentioned earlier how he had guest artists for his Discord Hooves and his Lovestruck Derpy Hooves as blogs. If you try to look at these blogs, please don't go after the guest artists, since most likely some of them didn't even know about this. But after reading this thread, it's honestly disgusting to see all of this. But now it makes sense as to why there were certain weird comments in the Discord Whooves series, mostly that little suggestive comment about the cutie mark crusaders, and try to excuse it by saying, oh, but it's them as adults, even though, guess what, it's still weird. But now I think it's time to wrap it up. With the S blogs, the art isn't the worst, and I actually kind of like the guest artists, but as for the story, it's honestly a bit confusing, mostly if you're trying to understand the Discord Whooves series, because you have to go all the way to Mount Everest to try to find more information about the series if you don't understand certain parts, because you gotta read Lovestruck Derpy Hooves, you gotta read Ask the Time Master, you gotta read Tantamon Time Turner, you gotta read Torchwood V, and you gotta read Voltavia. And even then, to top it off, you kind of have to know some Doctor Who lore, or you'll be a bit more confused, because again, for example, Jack is from the Doctor Who series, and I didn't even know this until I googled him, and I didn't even know he had his own spin-off until I googled him. There's also the fact that there's certain side plots that don't really matter that are in the series. For example, again, the whole Scootaloo having a child side plot. It honestly serves no purpose since we don't see her nor her child towards the end of the series. And some may say, oh, but it's to show how certain universes are bringing to the one Discord Whooves is from. Yeah, and I understand that, but what I don't understand is why Twilight had to take care of the child. There's no use to have the baby be with Twilight, mostly because towards the end of the series, the baby's literally nowhere to be seen. Another side plot was the Unicorn Harvester. Oh, what? You don't know what the Unicorn Harvester is? Oh, well, it's just another side plot that I honestly forgot about, because not even mentioned that much. But basically, a pony is going around killing unicorns by slitting their throats and cutting off their horns. We find out later on that the murderer is Octavia, and we find that out after she kills Warner out of nowhere. They did my boy dirty like that. She later dies by a character named Valiard. So why did she do this? Well, you gotta go read the Volativa ass blog to find out that she's been working with Valiard to get magical horns to, I guess, fight Discord Whooves. And who is Valiard? I have no idea! All I know is that he's from the Doctor Who series, at least that's what Google told me. He looks exactly like Doctor Who, so I'm just guessing that it's like the more discorded version of Doctor Who's, and that he dies by Discord at the end. Which is kind of funny because throughout the Discord Who series, he's nowhere. He literally does not appear anywhere. Like, he's not mentioned even. And at the end, he kind of just appears and it fucking... he just fucking died! He just died out of nowhere, and I'm just like, oh, okay. This man served no purpose. He was just there. But anyways, and y'all already know how I feel about the Doctor and Derpy. And in all honesty, I wish they didn't end up together in the end, because I just can't see them together after everything that happened throughout the series. But that's just my opinion though. But anyways, that's going to be it for today's video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you liked the video, then go ahead and give this video a like. If you want to see more of my content, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to give me your opinions on the topic, or you want to recommend me more stuff to make videos on, then go ahead and tell me in the comments below. I would love to hear what you all have to say. I hope you guys have a lovely day or night wherever you guys are from, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!